What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Let's talk another proposal, but this one needs a bit of attention. We're going to need to take a look exactly what is going on with this $4.16 million that we have access to, what should happen to it, and ultimately how is this going to better Terra Luna Classic as well as UTC and everyone that is holding. So let's talk about it in this video. First, let's take a quick look at the prices of the two coins we're going to be talking about. 1613 on Terra Luna Classic, 28.4 on Terra Classic USD, or USTC as is it better known. Now, there is a couple of interesting things that we have coming out. We got this tweet out from Reddit. It says, my LUNC, circulating and total supply APIs have now been integrated by CoinGecko. The supply info is updated every 15 minutes on their system. Thanks to CoinGecko, Binance, and Vegas Morph for collaborating on this. So we now, like I said, have officially got the Luna Classic update on the circulating supply, as well as USTC is also doing the same thing, continually updating with that total supply. So just some more progress being made there with Terra Luna Classic. Now, let's get into the meat of this video. We take a look at the price, 1612 on Terra Luna Classic USTC, just down a little bit further at that 27.5 range. Again, trending sideways like we see with the majority of cryptocurrency, waiting for that move. But let's get into this. It's a revised proposal 10940 around the summary. We propose to divide the money from the multisig wallets. Here's that multisig wallet that we got back from TFL. Now, interestingly, Duck One seems to be taking a much more active role in crypto in general, not necessarily Terra Luna Classic, but in crypto in general. And it says, into manageable chunks to fund various initiatives. Our aim is to ensure that individuals and groups critical to LUNC's betterment get access to funding sooner than later. And this is something I talked about in a couple of videos, where because of this governance proposal, which ultimately makes Terra Luna Classic decentralized, which is more than can be said for a lot of projects out there, it does, however, slow us down this voting period that sits with it. And I think this is where something like this could absolutely be the right thing, where proportions should be voted upon, and other things we have to trust in the team that ultimately are developing and doing it. It talks a little bit about exactly how they're going to break down, but we're going to take a look at that in just 1 second. And here we go in terms of where people are voting. So we've had a yes of 42.85, which isn't actually that much. Currently, it is passing with 4 days left to go. You can see the pass threshold here. Now, here's the interesting bit. We actually have 10 voting no. So Vegas, Crypto King and Burn, Classy's also voted no, a few abstaining there from Lucy Dow and a few others, but equally we've had 5 that have voted yes. So Interstellar Lounge, pretty big voting power, as well as Stakebing and a number of others. And this is why it's important when you decide who you're staking with, you really understand if they have the best interest for you. So again, think when you look at that, with only 5 validators that voted, how big that swing is. Now, comparing in mind some of these big ones, for example, if All Nodes or Orion vote yes, then this one is pretty much going to pass, would be my guess. So let's get into exactly the detail of it. But before we do that, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We talk about cryptocurrency, Terra Luna Classic, as well as everything else going on. And we also live stream every night, 4 p.m. Eastern. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you know exactly when we go live, or you get a new video up on the channel. And let's get back into this. So like I said, this is the full proposal put together by Rabbi Jedi, and it says, the proposal summary we've talked a little bit about in there. The bit that we're more important at is the overview. So divide the overall assets available within the multisig wallet into smaller portions. Hire a legal representative or firm to oversee the detailed process of extraction like that. Ensure the money is clear of any legal liabilities or prior entanglements and dependencies. This is basically when there was a discussion around, do we burn the $4.16 million in LUNC? There would actually be legal ramifications attached to that. So again, we have to be careful exactly what we are asking for, particularly when we talk about a few other bits and pieces. So as we continue down, you can see there that it's necessary to nominate certain doxed trusted individuals to act as temporary key holders. Again, that would have to be worked through as part of the community voting process. And once extracted, deliver the funds to specific beneficiaries as outlined in more detail below. So pretty extensive outline in terms of what is going to go there. And again, lots more to talk about as we scroll down this proposal. Now, there is a disclaimer and motivation. We're not going to really talk through that, but ultimately the FTX collapse, what we need to do with it, and why this is important. funding breakdown and details is absolutely the bits we want to talk about. So remember, the value $4.1 million. Now, again, there is conversations going on right now whether we can actually get hold of that or whether that has already passed and potentially we might not be able to get into that. But 30% will go into purchasing Lunk and send to the community pool. Now, another community pool right now, if we take a look at Terra Station, we can see we are currently sat 1.25 billion with 1.2 billion Lunar Classic sat in there. It's about $200,000 sat in there right now. So 30% of the 4.16 million would go in there to further build future projects, decentralized applications, initiative developers, marketing, etc. That feels like a good idea. These assets will remain there in the foreseeable future once deposited and will fall under community jurisdiction. So we would all vote exactly how that gets distributed. 30% is direct fiat payout to the Terra Rebels. So 30% are going to go to the people in Terra Rebels developing this. So a portion of the funds can be temporarily frozen as discretion of Terra Rebels until they have formed a DAO or some other legal entity to protect themselves from liability. So this, for me, is important, that if the Terra Rebels are going to get it, then there is a legal entity to protect both the investor and them. I think it's important to reference that. 15% in fiat or crypto will be set aside for contract, bounty, dev work and programming. Now, remember, we talked about this as a salary option for some of the developers going on there. And again, if they're building, we should pay them. It is just as simple as that. This isn't a community project. It's not a community cap token. This is ultimately a layer 1 blockchain with absolute potential to be huge once again. Equally, it talks about a few suggestions to ensure smooth operations, so they should be completed before the agreed payroll come on, multiple device projects to be initiated, and bounties can be paid for in crypto. The price per bounty is set by Zaradar. Now, 10% into fiat reserves to be placed aside under the jurisdiction of the Terra Rebels developing and programming subteam. Now, you can really start to see why that legal entity is so important with this. Ultimately, what would that do? It just gives them a bit of funds at the back in case any trouble gets in or Daquan decides to come back and try and get hold of it. The legal entity and that fiat reserves will be important. 5% purchase Lunk and split between small Lunk validators who meet the following criteria. Now, that's a really interesting point, because what it would do is give voting power back to some of the smaller validators that probably have your interest in. As an example, we have Qcoin with a significant voting power that never votes on any proposals. So why should they get a voting right? In some respects, 4% into collateral set aside for helping re-eventually peg Lunacy potential stablecoins. Exciting. 3% into Edwardkin Grants program. That's part of the Terra Grants Foundation. We talked about that in that video yesterday. Link in the description. 2% funds set aside for legal counsel so we can pay them. 1% into direct fiat to Mr. Alexander Froschert for the finder's fee for his work in pursuing these funds. Now think about that. 1%. The guy got $4.16 million back. So really interesting proposal. Incredibly well thought out. As it sits right now at the minute, like we said, does look like it potentially is going to go through. What's your view on this? I'm really interested to understand what you guys think about it. It could be huge in terms of the longevity of it. It certainly then feels much more business-like in terms of what we do with these, and more importantly, there is a legal factor to those funds. What we don't want to do is just throw it away. So some big proposals coming out right now. Yes, the price of Lunar Classic is pretty stagnant around the 16s, but some big proposals, thinking long term, could absolutely be exactly what we need, and we are here for it. So again, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.